Today, we are talking about something that, let's be honest, probably affects every single one of us: digital amnesia. And we're going to tackle a pretty huge question. Is your smartphone literally deleting your memories? Okay, let's start with a little test. Right now, can you remember your best friend's phone number from when you were a kid? Or maybe your own landline from like 15 years ago? My guess is that's a tough one, right? Even if you used to dial it a million times without even thinking. So, what happened? Well, there's actually a name for it: digital amnesia. And it's this really simple but kind of profound idea. We forget things because, well, we know our devices have our back. They'll remember it for us. It's like we've all been handed this perfect external hard drive for our brain. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll nail down what digital amnesia really is. Then we'll look at how we're outsourcing our brains and the real cost of all this distraction. After that, we'll get into the neuroscience of why this happens. And finally, we'll wrap up with the big takeaway. I mean, who doesn't love the convenience of having basically a supercomputer in their pocket, right? But as we're about to see, that convenience, it comes with a surprising and often pretty hidden cost to our own internal hardware. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How does this actually happen? Well, there are 5 key ways our phones mess with our memory, and the first 2 fall under one giant category. We are, quite literally, outsourcing our brain's daily job. We're talking cognitive offloading and our total reliance on GPS. 2 things that seem totally harmless, but they have some seriously deep effects on how our brains work. Okay, first up, cognitive offloading. Yeah, I know it sounds super technical, right? But trust me, it's something you do dozens, if not hundreds of times every single day without even realizing it. So here's the wild part. Your brain isn't getting lazy, not at all. It's just being incredibly, incredibly efficient. See, instead of wasting energy storing the what, like an address or a phone number, it just remembers where to find it. It knows that info is safe and sound in your Contacts app. The only problem? Memory is like a muscle. And when you stop giving it a workout, that recall muscle, it starts to get weaker. And that brings us to point number 2, and honestly, this one is huge: our near total dependence on GPS. This goes way beyond just forgetting a fact or a date. This is changing our fundamental ability to build mental maps of the world around us. This quote just nails it. When we just mindlessly follow that little blue dot on the screen, the hippocampus, which is basically the brain's headquarters for spatial memory, it just clocks out. It goes on a vacation it really, really doesn't need. Those famous studies of London cab drivers showed they have massive hippocampi because they have to memorize thousands of streets. We're doing the exact opposite. We're letting a crucial part of our brain just sit there gathering dust. So you've got cognitive offloading and GPS. But that's only half the battle. The other equally powerful enemy of memory is just plain old distraction. So let's dig into the last 3 ways our phones are chipping away at our memory. These are constant interruption, information overload, and something called shallow processing. This is where the whole always on, always connected thing really starts to hurt. Point 3, constant interruption. Oh man, you know this feeling. The endless ping, buzz, vibrate, that constant stream of notifications fighting for your attention. So here's the thing you really need to get. To form a solid memory, you need a chunk of uninterrupted focus. Think of it like taking a photo. If you jiggle the camera right when you press the button, the picture comes out blurry. Well, every single notification is like someone shaking your brain's camera right as it's trying to save a memory. And the cost is insane. Studies show it can take over 20 minutes to get back to what you were doing after just one little interruption. Next up, point 4, information overload. Look, our brains are amazing, but they were just never, ever built to drink from the digital fire hose we're all hooked up to 24/7. This chart, man, this really puts it into perspective. Just imagine that tall bar is all the information you bump into in a single day. Tweets, headlines, emails, TikToks, you name it. Now, look at that little tiny bar next to it. That's what your brain can realistically process and actually save to long-term memory. The gap is massive. Our brains are constantly playing triage, trying to figure out what's important. And guess what? Most of it just gets thrown out. And that fire hose of information leads us straight to our 5th and final point: shallow processing. This isn't just about how much info we see, it's about how we're seeing it. Just think about it. How you use your phone. Are you deeply reading and reflecting on long articles? Or are you just scrolling through a feed, skimming headlines, and bouncing from one thing to the next? That skimming habit keeps information floating in the shallow end of our mental pool. And for a memory to really stick, it's got to be pushed into the deep end, into long-term storage. And that takes focus and reflection, the very things our scrolling habit is designed to prevent. So, we've seen the 5 ways this whole thing works, but why? Why is our brain so quick to change like this? Well, it's not a bug, it's actually a core feature of how we're wired. This right here, this really sums it all up. Before we had smartphones, your brain's #1 strategy for information was internal storage. You had to memorize stuff. But now, in a world where you have Google in your pocket, the brain has adapted. It has brilliantly shifted its main goal to external retrieval. Knowing how to find the answer has become way more important than actually knowing the answer itself. So, where does this all leave us? What's the bottom line? Let's boil all this down to one final thought. Maybe before you instinctively reach for your phone. And this might be the most important thing to remember from this whole explainer. It's so easy to look at all this and think, oh no, my brain is getting lazy, it's getting weaker. But that's not the real story. The real story is one of incredible, amazing adaptation. Our brains are doing exactly what they evolved to do, adapting to their environment to be as efficient as possible. So I'll leave you with this one question to chew on. Where do you draw the line? Is your smartphone just a tool, one that you're in control of and use to your advantage? Or has it become something more, a cognitive partner, an external piece of your own mind that you can't really function without anymore? The answer for each of us really matters. Thanks for tuning in.